Hey OIG family, it's Ben. Today we have a very special video AMA with Synchrony, our longtime partners. This project has a lot of things going on, and we're very lucky to have Andy, the co-founder, joining us. OIG have been massive fans of Synchrony from the beginning. Since we last spoke, we've grown exponentially. We've gone from 3,000 to 15,000 on Twitter, and Synchrony has been phenomenal, the growth. So for those people that have joined late, could you summarize what Synchrony is and what it does?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you guys for being long-term supporters of Synchrony. I take out the I and just say you guys are OGs. But you know, we love all the support from you guys. I'll give you guys a sort of a top level summary of what Synchrony is. Synchrony is really fundamentally it's three things. It's first of all it's copy trading. So you as a user, you have your wallet, you go to our platform, check out our leaderboard, or even if you want to just put in a KOL or one of your friends' wallets, and you can follow what they do. You can follow their spot trade. Eventually, this is going to expand into other, you know, more traditional copy trading things like, hey, here's this take profit, stop loss. Like I have like some bots on Telegram that follow these signals. So there'll be like signal-based trading and things like that. But, you know, essentially it's like you can follow somebody what they do because they're the expert, right? And you don't, you know, you're not trying to like learn how to be a trader, or you're not trying to do that. You just know that, you know, there's a future here with crypto and you want to follow these people. So first of all, copy trading. The second component is composable indexes. So it's kind of like the S&P 500, the FTSE 100. It's an algorithm that it's an equation that determines what assets you're having exposure to. So for example, top 10 tokens on Solana by market cap, and each one of the tokens will be weighted slightly differently. And depending on the market cap of those tokens, if something falls out or something falls in, it'll reconstitute and rebalance. So it keeps those weights based off of that equation. The added bonus to that is we use these indexes on our copy trading wallets as well. So one of the problems that we saw with copy trading, that I've seen with copy trading myself, is like it's centralized, right? Or it's non-custodial. Like I'm either sending you my, not your keys, not your coins, right? I'm either sending you my money and I have to trust you, or I have to like, it's just, I don't like the idea of trying to try, I want trustlessness, right? So having these indexes bind the copy trading wallets, for example, top 10 token on Solana by market cap. If I'm following you as a trader and you trade outside of those parameters, then I'm going to ignore that trade. And so what that does is I'm able to follow like a KOL or a random wallet I found while like, you know, sleuthing around on like Etherscan or wherever. I can follow that wallet and I can know that like they're not going to dump a bunch of money into Doge and I'm going to follow that. I know it's just it's a low hanging fruit. It's easy for me to poke fun at it. It's okay, guys. Any Doge like fanatics, I got into Doge when it like got started as a spinoff from the Bitcoin like subreddit, whatever. Like I've been involved in Doge for a while, so I can poke fun at it. But the point is, you know, you can bind your wallet to these parameters. You can whitelist tokens as well. So if you want Doge and it's outside of those parameters and the trader trades that, then, you know, that'll satisfy those conditions and you'll follow that. So the indexes really serve two purposes. And then obviously, if you're a fund or, you know, you want to build your own index for people to trade, you can do that as well. So if you want to do the bottom 5 of the top 30 tokens by 7-day moving average or something weird like that, you can do that, which is kind of interesting, right? And then the third thing that ties it all together is our analytics platform, because you've got to have good high fidelity data in order to make actionable decisions, regardless of where you're at. And you know, a lot of retail users, once they get a little bit past the learning curve, from my history, once you get past the learning curve, once you like have ground through it and you're like, I don't understand, then it's like, okay, I get it, you know, like a little bit. You want more data. You want a centralized location for you to be able to like do your own research. And so that's what we're trying to provide as well with the analytics platform. And we've got a bunch of amazing partnerships there that are helping us with RPC providers and you know, a couple other ones I can't mention yet, but we're really excited with, and they're going to provide us like some really high fidelity data, and we'll pass that down onto the users through that, and is also through an API for other builders. So that's what Synchrony is essentially in a nutshell.
I love that you've got different levels of risk in your protocol. You've got like the parameters you can choose. You can blind follow if you've got a bit of gamble about you. You know, there's all these different levels where I like that your product has sort of that functionality that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody and their mother. Like I was that weirdo. I have this this Facebook post that only got 1 like in 2013, where I just was like, Bitcoin is at $190! Exclamation mark. At the time, no one knew even really what Bitcoin was. They thought it was just like weird, funny internet money, this like weird sort of like scam or whatever. But I was just like, wow, this is like, you know, this is like this crazy thing. And now that it's being taken more seriously on an institutional standpoint, like, you know, I tell people, like, even my grandma's asking me how to pump her bags, you know what I mean? That's not the case. I had to help her reset her Amazon password. But, you know, the point remains, like, a lot of my friends are coming out who I haven't talked to in years. They're like, oh, like, Andy's still doing that crypto stuff? Oh, that's crazy. Like, I just bought a bunch of like Dogecoin, like blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you think about this? I'm like, man, this is not financial advice, but have you checked out their tokenomics model? Like, it's inflationary, and like Elon Musk is like doing some weird stuff. I don't know how legal that is. You know what I mean? But like everybody's interested. It's just, as soon as I'm like the immutable blockchain, that this immutable ledger that represents a blockchain, that, you know, it's like this spreadsheet that everybody's decentralized, people are like, it's like way over their heads. They're just like, I don't know, like. And so, you know, for us, we're like, we've reframed the question to, what are people trying to do here fundamentally? And they're just trying to have their money work harder for them. Like for me, I don't do it a lot anymore because I'm so focused on building. I just have like my core holdings, and I just let it ride these days, because I literally don't have the time to try and like see what's going on, or research a whole lot of like new projects and like dig into to them on an investment standpoint. People just want, like, I don't want to spend time in charts. I want to spend time with my family. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? I mean, you can get really deep, like, what's the meaning of life, blah blah blah. I don't know what the meaning of life is, but I can tell you what it isn't. It isn't like making a ton of money and dying just making a ton of money. You know what I mean? Because that's like, I see some people, especially in this industry, because the markets never close, and I'm trying to like dance this line as well, that are like exhausting themselves, like working themselves to death. My brother's one of them. Like over at Run the Chain, that's my brother's company. He's got a VC and a marketing agency, but he's working himself to death, you know. And it's just like, and he's aged. He's my younger brother, and people are like, oh, he's the older brother, right? I'm like, no, he's just seasoned so much by this industry. And so it's just like, yeah, that's the what we're trying to do is like optimize time. That's what a lot of these things are, is, you know, people on a long enough time scale, if we live forever, you can do all the research, you could get so like, you know, into the weeds, but because it's our most valuable and limited resource, you know, we've got to do some things for retail, that mainstream adoption, that we're trying to bridge that gap. Because right now, all the people, you know, here are like the early or early mainstream adopters, and then there's this gap between where we're at and where the future of retail is at, that we have to bridge. And it's not a smooth process, because right now, a lot of the people who are in this industry are at this intersection between like software development and blockchain, right? And finance, right? So it's just like, these are things that are like on their own quite technical and you know, quite difficult to understand. So to bridge that gap, we need to have tools in place that you know, essentially people don't even know that they're interacting with the market, right? Because
I mean, it's true. It's complicated, isn't it? So unless you've got that much time or that much knowledge, you can get lost within it. As you said, when you speak to people about what is behind the blockchain technology, they switch off. And so I quite like with Synchrony, you are simplifying it, but there are layers to it. So if you want to go deeper into it, you can.
Yeah. And the copy trading thing is definitely like the most appealing thing. Like for every single person at retail that we've talked to, copy trading is the most interesting. The on the hedge fund side, it's the composable indexes. You know, being able to create your own fund that people can subscribe to, and you know, you earn profit off of like some of the withdrawal fees. That's more interesting on an institutional level for me as an investor because I'm so bloody lazy. I'm really interested in the indexes because we do indexes of indexes as well. So I just want one asset. You know, it's like Lord of the Rings, like one index to rule them all. So I want like an index of like other indexes, like an index of like the Solana top 10, the Ethereum top 10, maybe the top 5 copy trading wallets, like whatever have you. So I can just like worry about this one thing, right? I mean, and if there's a study by Vanguard in like 2019 or 2010, I don't remember the exact date, but they said like 80% the indexes outperform actively managed funds 80% of the time. So it's just like, yeah, like that, like I'm all for that, right? I'll take those odds in Vegas any day.
That's what I mean by I overtrade, I overthink, and
Yeah,
if I can just leave my money in with somebody who's made some good decisions, and chose the best 10, and I don't have to do much. That's perfect.
I have a couple really big regrets in my life. One is when I was too scared to go bungee jumping when I was 13. And then seriously, I still regret that. My dad and my brothers did it, and I look back at that and I was like, oh man, that's a big regret of mine. And the second one was selling Bitcoin. I mean, like I said, I was trading Bitcoin since 2010, and I traded a lot of Bitcoin. I had like I had like over 1,000 at one point. And I sold a bunch, and you know, I didn't understand custody very well because I didn't have a finance background. Right, all the financial tools and information that I have has been like learned, you know, external to that because I was in, you know, supply chain and analytics and marketing and all sorts of other stuff. But it's on Mt. Gox. So I like kept it all on Mt. Gox because I'm like, it's just like my bank, right? It's safe there, right? Yeah. And then I you know, I got scared. I remember it was just like, Bitcoin's over $1,000. This doesn't seem sustainable. Like, I'm just gonna cash out some and like make a little bit of money. And now I'm like, dude, if I had just kept every single Bitcoin, if I had understood custody, if I had like really like practiced what I preached, you know, I'd have like a ton of money right now. And not that that's not the goal here, but it's just like, you know, that's definitely a regret of mine, is not like just listening to that little voice that was like, you know, because I was running this research and development division, and so like I was looking into all this new technology and doing all this stuff, and PGP encryption was really interesting, and you know, it was on the heels of the 2008 financial crisis, and so there, you know, I didn't get affected by it directly, but I saw, you know, the world around me get affected, and then hearing about all these like bankers getting these big bonuses after like everybody's getting their houses foreclosed, and like the homelessness. Yeah, it just didn't, you know, it just didn't make sense. So I was like, oh yeah, I should definitely really, you know, get into this sort of thing. And like, yeah, this is the future. I was telling everybody, this is the future. You know, that Facebook post like, Bitcoin's at $190. I told you guys. It's $190. I told you guys. And now it's just like $190 movement on Bitcoin. It's just like, oh, it's flat.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, obviously you've launched, and recently you've obviously went on a central exchange. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how things have gone since the launch, and maybe give us some highlights, some things that you're proud of that you've achieved?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we have been stricken by some unfortunate luck. If you look at these sorts of events like a market maker does, like if it's green, it's an opportunity to take profit. If it's red, it's an opportunity to you know, to buy in low. Right. And I look at that from a more macro scale. It's just like, yeah, Solana went down on our demo day. Solana went down when we're originally supposed to launch. Then, you know, just miserable market conditions on the heels of, you know, Federal Reserve interest rates. And I mean, you just look at the general market, and it's just like, this is not a good time to sort of launch a product, but this isn't a short-term product, right? This isn't like something that we're going to turn around. We're not making like that might have a shorter shelf life, like a game or something like that. You know, like I'm a big gamer too, but these things only are around for so long, regardless of how much you iterate them. So we are a long-term project. So it's just like, you know, the market's not great, but we're gonna be here for a minute. So like just looking back in time on every single time people were like, this is the end of crypto. How many times, like 2010, I don't know how many cycles that is, but I've heard this is the end of crypto so many times. At this point, it's just like, guys, it's like you saying the sun's for sure not going to rise tomorrow. I mean, it's dark right now. The sun's not going to rise tomorrow. Like, I mean, I know it's happened a couple of times before this, but come on, guys. Like, you know, this is the future. Aside from that, you know, the amount of support that we've gotten from people who are interested in what we're trying to build, and not the token price, the amount of amazing sort of suggestions that we've gotten from our community has been huge. In terms of like big things coming up, we've got dopamine integration. They're fantastic. We love those guys. They're another intro from my brother that'll help us get a lot of exposure to their communities, because they have I think they have like 1.5 million signed up users and like 300,000. I don't quote me on these exact numbers, but something to the effect of like, you know, millions of actual like signed up users, and then, you know, hundreds of thousands of monthly active users. So that gives us a lot of exposure. We also have, I don't think I can say, well, we have another partnership with a mobile NFT platform and marketplace that's coming up, that's going to help host our partnership with Wednesdays. Wednesdays is the NFT that we're putting out in combination with this other team and some artists, and it's a utility NFT token. So it's, you know, yes, it's frogs, and I'm like low-key obsessed with frogs, which is why we went with this. I just think they're funny, and it's just like one of these inside jokes that I keep pushing, and then eventually people are like, all right, I guess I like frogs too. So
I did take a look at them, and the utility is pretty impressive. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, the first hackathon I entered into for crypto was an ETH hackathon, and it was an NFT ETH hackathon. This was like two years ago or something like that. And we came up with this idea to turn the bill of lading for oil tankers driving from the Permian Basin in Texas, which is the largest oil deposit like in the world, but because it's on land, it's a bit harder to get to, or it doesn't make as much sense supply chain wise, because you have to get it on these trucks around. So there's a lot of oil there, and it is quite profitable, but it's not like, you know, the Middle East or something where it's a little more accessible. But we turn the bill of lading of these oil tankers that are going across the United States, bringing oil to these different refineries, so on and so forth, into an NFT. And the purpose of that was not to like, you know, evolve it or trade it or whatever. The purpose of it was to have a digital on-chain asset that we could collateralize and for DeFi purposes. Because, you know, I have the supply chain background, and I'm like, all right, what are the actual like more practical applications of blockchain outside of like a Dogecoin or whatever, you know what I mean? Like because just like I was saying with money, like people shouldn't even care that blockchain is running it. They should just know that there's a superior underlying technology that's helping enable this. And from a DeFi standpoint, in the context of supply chain, all of these goods, like I remember we do these fashion shows and things, and I'm just like, it's wintertime. Why are we doing a fashion show for summer? It's because there's so much lead time for these things, because they get on boats, right? And so however long it's on the water, it's just sitting there and it's not really doing a lot for you. So I'm like, well, if you could collateralize these goods en route, and even if you're only getting 30% of the value there, and put it on and lend it as a stable token somewhere, now you're really helping your margins, because like the world's getting tighter, especially importing from like China, because, you know, there's all these tariffs and things like that. So like, how can you like optimize? Like everybody needs to optimize. The old way of doing business for bankers has got to change. No more like, you know, $100 million bailouts for guys in the middle of an economic crisis. And supply chain, yeah, it's getting a little tighter. There's like inflation that we have to deal with. Like, so I mean, I guess the point is like, I've always been searching for further utility for these things. I've always been searching for like for the non-vaporware side of things, which you know, I'm afraid like to say that there are quite a few of these projects that are out there that are just selling JPEGs. You know, I mean, I hate to be so derogatory, and other NFT people would be like, it's not a JPEG, blah blah blah, it's immutable, and it's verifiable ownership. I get it, but let's do verifiable ownership in the context of like NFTs. Like, I can prove that this is the only one, that this is my ID. You know, like I heard of this cab company somewhere in Africa that's using a blockchain Uber app, so that, you know, single women who are trying to get taxis will know that, hey, this is for sure the driver. It is safe for me to get into this vehicle, right? So with that sort of foundation, that's the way we approach this. But we also wanted to be fun, right? Like, you know, Synchrony, we take, you know, security and all these things very, very seriously, but it doesn't need to be like the suit and tie traditional like banking system that's stuffy behind bulletproof glass type of thing. And so that, you know, having these NFT frogs, you know, it gives it a little bit of character. I think they're great. You know, we got there's like a couple of really fantastic artists over there. Like the art itself is really cool. So from the, you know, collectible fundamental standpoint, I think, you know, there's value there. I like them. I think they're really cool. I got to have a little say in some of the characters or the accessories. And they you know, they listened and they put it out there. So I was touched to be able to do that. But yeah, so some of the NFT utility that we're doing is, well, first of all, you can it stakes on our platform, right? You can put it in your wallet. You can use it as your profile photo. That other people can see, right? And other people can interact with. So there's a social component to it. Gives users exclusive access to some of our social channels, kind of like is it Degen Aped? You have to have the NFT in there to get access to these things. The NFT also gives you access to our pre-alpha you know, launches of these platforms and functionalities. You basically, you get to be first, and then you also get a lot of the accolades and achievements. Like, we're trying to gamify this thing as much as possible as well. So it's like, I mean, to use an example, like I'm on like, not to flex or anything, but I'm on like day 175 of my Duolingo streak right now. You know what I mean? But having these things, these awards, these achievements, and it also, for example, if a leader has this NFT in their wallet, it also gives the community a little bit of added knowledge that they are a part of the Synchrony community. Like they went so far as to get this thing. It's like an extra level of verification without requiring like that KYC. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, they've got the Synchrony NFT, so they at least participated in one of these things in order to get it. So yeah, there's community recognition. So there's a couple of layers to it, and we're going to continue to explore the different utilities as we go as well. So
I love it. I love the idea of it. How do we get them? When are they released?
Oh, that's a really good question. So from my understanding, the Wednesday's website is going to be fully updated with a lot of the roadmap and how to get it and where to get it and all that stuff. I saw a sneak peek yesterday or two, I don't know time. I mean, we went live on MEXC and there's a lot of problems over there, so I'm really like discombobulated right now. But I believe it's next week, so within the next 7 days they're going to have their website updated, and that'll give a little bit more firm deadlines. From my understanding, it's going to be close to the end of February when they're gonna launch it. We are doing a small raffle right now for anybody in the public, because we're doing an airdrop for our IDO participants. So if they hold for the 21 days and they, you know, do a couple of these actions, they'll be able to get the airdrop. But the community who wasn't able to participate in the IDO, or the people who sold their Synchrony tokens or whatever, they can still get it by going to we have like this pre-alpha version of our of like a really basic wallet functionality. We're just trying to get people to connect their wallet, and we're trying to get them to search a wallet. We're just kind of stress testing. We want people to, you know, we want everybody to know that every single day we spend all of our time building. And you know, we're pumping out all these things. So we have this wallet sort of analyzer, searcher that we're setting up to have people be able to save wallet addresses that they're following and do some back testing and see which wallets have been like more profitable. We're trying to get a bunch of data for a wallet trust factor, which is it digs into the analytics a little bit, which is very interesting and important for me. The wallet trust factor, basically, we're trying to give people these at a glance metrics, like, trying to bridge this gap, right? Because if I'm coming in and I'm just looking at a wallet, like how much money's been in your wallet over time, it's difficult for me, even if I'm looking at the protocols that you've interacted with, it's difficult for me to be like, hey, is this actually a profitable wallet? Or did this dude just like move money off to a central exchange and then bring more money back? Or did they just like fiat on ramp somewhere and then turn that into something? So what we're trying to do is collect a ton of data and put it through some of these like machine learning algorithms and see, all right, how long's the wallet been around? Like, what protocols has it interacted with? Like, we'll be able to do it within a confidence range. It's not going to be like, for sure, this is like, the best wallet, it's super safe. We'll be able to be like, hey, like red, yellow, green, or, gold, silver, bronze, or on a scale of 1 to 10, like what is how confident do we feel that this is like a trustworthy, profitable wallet? So that's one of the things we're doing. I believe it's on our Twitter and in our Telegram. So people will be able to earn some of these NFTs through that, just by getting on there and connecting your wallet. And we're going to do a raffle, and we'll drop a couple to the community to check out when Wednesdays launches as well. So that's one of the ways that the community can get involved now, and secure one of these limited edition Wednesdays NFT frogs. Really excited about that. There's only going to be 5,000. I think that they are going to do like another season or something like that. We're going to see what happens with that. So
no, it's exciting. I really like the way you've done it. It's a great way to stress test your platform, to get people familiar with it, and a good way to reward holders as well. So very intelligently done. You mentioned earlier about staking. So that was one thing I was excited to hear about, is when will your native staking, when will that start?
Native staking is at the end of this month, which is like, that's very soon. Let me see. We got 10 days, within 10 days. We'll announce the exact date. We're auditing it. We're auditing everything. I mean, there's staking programs there's a lot of them out there. So, and they've all been audited, but we're going to go through this extra layer of security because, it's your money and therefore your time. And we take that very seriously. And I think that was $2 billion got hacked last year or something like that. I don't, again, don't quote me. This is ballpark numbers, right? But yeah, so, we want to make sure that first of all, that the platform is really safe and secure. And then, make sure it's very user friendly as well. But yeah, staking is going to go live at the end of this month. Really excited about that. We're trying to time it like on the heels of this airdrop, so that people will go from there to the staking program. And the staking as well is also starts unlocking the Synchrony token utility, because we're really focused on driving a lot of value through the utility of the token, not driving the value through other means, right? And so you are required, like for the advanced features, for advanced copy trading, because like there's going to be a free and tiered version of this subscription model, which is the business model we're looking at. And the Synchrony token is going to help enable that. And staking it will provide insurance on the indexes. Staking will provide like users advanced analytics for the analytics components of the business as well. So we're starting to tie that into these other the other functionalities of the site. So
that sounds brilliant. There's one question that could be tricky to answer, especially on the cuff. Is there anybody that is doing something similar that you would consider as competition? And if so, what makes you stand out over them?
There's no competition, because we want to be the place that people come to, and you can interact with any protocol. Hey, you want to interact with Symmetry? You can do it here. You interact with there, you can do it here. Like I said, I want the one asset to rule them all, right? Like we're going to do this thing where when we're going to be cross-chain, we're going to be all this, because people want their money to work harder for them, and they don't really care what blockchain they're on, right? Only the maxis or whatever really, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a little myopic. Like, I have a bunch of BTC maxi friends that I make fun of and stuff here and there. And I, for a long time, was a maxi. When I first heard these other things, someone was like, "Oh, come on, guys! Like, what are you doing?" What is? And then I heard about smart contracts. I was like, "Okay, all right, well, all right." You know what I mean? So yeah, we are looking at nobody being a competitor, because if someone does do something better than us, then like, how do we integrate with that? How do we use that? Like my old boss at that Berkshire company used to say, you don't have to be smart, you just have to recognize it and copy it effectively. So that's how I've kind of lived my life. It's just like, if I see something that's interesting, that's a good idea, kind of like try and remove my ego from it and just be like, that's a good idea. That idea is better than my idea. How can I either reach out to them and partner with them, or how can we do this and do it more effectively? So
great answer, and it leaves room for growth and for development. And as you said, the number of partnerships you've already got and the ones in line, you're not out there competing with everyone. You're out there to grow with people. So I like that. There's a lot of stuff you spoke about coming up in the short term. I'm really interested about your vision for Synchrony in the future, and what excites you in the long term. Like, what maybe have you got planned in the long term?
Oh man, I mean, the long-term vision is the most interesting vision to me. I mean, I know retail is the most interested in the copy trading. But for me, I mean, the indexes, because I've mentioned it before, because I'm lazy, and I want to spend more time with my family than be digging around in the charts. I want to have the indexes of indexes going, right? I want to have this like single like asset that I can deploy a single stable coin into, and have it turn into this thing that I can forget about and come back later, for kids' college or whatever, like just set and forget type of thing. But the most interesting thing for me is the analytics in the long term, and cross-chain obviously in there as well. But the analytics for me, because it's such an infrastructure level project, and I'm Google Analytics and AdWords certified, because I used to work at this marketing agency and stuff, and I got to see firsthand. I'm also a Salesforce admin and architect and all this stuff. I got to see firsthand the value that data can provide, and from a Synchrony business model standpoint. It's like the gold rush in California, and I don't know what time frame it was, but this California gold rush. People know about the California gold rush, and they know that a lot of people moved west because people were finding gold in these rivers, and it's just everywhere. Not a lot of people found gold, but the people who sold pickaxes and helmets, they made bank. So I want to sell pickaxes and helmets here. I want to support the ecosystem. And we're really, really excited about this, because we're working with RPC providers as well, and we're working on indexing call data. So not just on-chain written data, but when you're on your wallet and you're checking your price, you're calling this data, right? When you're transaction data, you pay for it. When you have to put something on chain, you pay for it. When you're just looking, it's free. And right now, these RPC providers, they get this information, and they just rewrite it on these solid state drives again and again and again. And every 3 months, the solid state drive dies, because that's how much they're rewriting onto these drives. Well, we're starting to collect this data and index this data separately. And Mohammed on the team, he's got like 2 master's degrees or something like that, and one of them is in data science. He's really into analytics and data, and obviously I've done a fair bit of that myself on a professional level. You can get some very interesting insights into the entire ecosystem this way. It's valuable to retail, because it's just like, what's consumer sentiment looking like, or what projects are having people like set up trades and not execute, or what projects are people looking into and checking like what are people connecting their wallets to? How does this look? And can we do it on a heat map? And can we do it based off of time? And so users will be able to like layer this data into the on-chain data, into the platform data, into like, Google search trends, into like, hashtags on Twitter, like have this like just stack of data that we consolidate into, red, yellow, green, or as in-depth as you want it to. We could, make these custom marketing reports, things like that. On the institutional level, though, it also creates a whole nother wealth of value through this API that they can call. And we're still figuring out the idiosyncrasies around how we're going to develop that sort of model. But I mean, I'm sure you guys can see sort of the potential value here and having like a sort of Google level, like we can see like what's going on in the industry. And you as a protocol, we can approach you and be like, here's when most people, you have some of this data, but here's what people are looking for. Here's the trades that they're setting up and not executing. Here's what time, here's the things that like are not doing well. Because right now, protocols, they do have access to some of this data, but they're not making use of it because they're busy, building a lending protocol, or they're busy, like there's a lot of like these optimization like areas for them, and I'm super excited about that. It's probably the least sexy thing, like you know what I mean? Like coffee trading's like definitely what most retail is really interested in, but for me it's like the analytics because of how interesting it is. I love looking at data and trying to draw actionable conclusions from it, and just like get a different idea of how people are interacting with this new reality. So that to me is really, really interesting. The upcoming development we have for that, I don't know if I should do this, if I should say this, but this will be like sort of a semi first public announcement of this, but we're going to be putting out our first API called Token Stream. It's, a feature that Synchrony uses currently. We plug into this API. We use this API ourselves, and we're going to make this publicly available. Basically, you can look at it as like DeFi Pulse on Solana plus some extra little features and things like that. And that's like we crawl before we walk, before we run. This is like a first start. This is eventually going to be every single chain. So when a new company comes in, when a project like ours comes in and we need to pull Solana specific ecosystem data to create an index or something like that, you as a builder can do that, and you don't need to go reinvent the wheel here, right? Because there isn't currently something like this that exists on Solana, and we're going to deploy this on every single chain. This we're going to go for Rust compatible chains first, because obviously Solana is written in Rust. So, we're looking at Polkadot and Near next. Well, Near has a hackathon coming up that we're going to enter because it's just part of our roadmap, and it helps us get more exposure into these ecosystems. But I think from a value add standpoint, it gets our foot in the door in these other ecosystems without needing to redo the entire back end and all of the smart contracts for Synchrony. We can get exposure to these different ecosystems, deploy an index on them, which there currently aren't on most ecosystems. There's not a DeFi pulse on most ecosystems. So people can get diversified exposure to multiple chains without having to go through all of the hassle. Like, how many times have I bridged tokens? Like I've, even like, it's embarrassing, but I've sent money to contract addresses before, like, because I had the wrong thing on my clipboard. Like I literally was like, I'm going to send a test $1,000. Like, dude, just send it. It still stings, man. It stings almost as much as like getting scammed out of all this Bitcoin, but at least I got scammed and it was Mt. Gox's fault. This one was like all mine, you know what I mean? So like reducing some of that friction there, I think is really important. But then, getting our name out to these different ecosystems, because that's really important. People, like I said, people don't care. Okay, I care what chain I'm on, right? I do, but this isn't just for me. This is for everybody. And most people don't care what chain they're on, right? They just want to get some exposure to these things. And, when right now, especially like my wife's dad got into Bitcoin at $63,000. Oh, no. And I'm like, dude, I mean, not financial advice. I was always like, hey, I'm never like, do it or don't do it, you know, because, you know, I don't want to be that guy that has you put your life savings into something because, you know, people see it and they're like, oh, maybe like it'll still go up and blah, 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 blah. So, you know, it does help us, it helps the community get exposure, diversified exposure to different ecosystems without needing to be like, okay, I want to come to Solana, but like, you know, there's 300 projects here and like, what do I do? Like the top 10, their market caps are too big. Like I have a little bit higher, you know, risk portfolio than trying to get something that's not going to move as much. You know, what can I do here to get this? And so that provides us, you know, it provides the community a pretty interesting opportunity to get their feet wet in some of the different places. And then for us as Synchrony, that's our deployment roadmap for cross-chain integration is like, we're going to put token stream on these places, provide the API to builders there. It also, there's these interesting like secondary and tertiary value drivers to it as well. Like, you know, obviously the API, once you get over a certain call level, like, you know, we'll probably have to charge it for you like most APIs do. So there's an interesting sort of, you know, value proposition there, but also new projects that come in that aren't listed yet, you can get exposure. You know what I mean? Like it's hard, like, what am I going to do as like a VC or a user who's trying to research new projects? I'm going to go to the hackathons. I'm going to see who won that. I'm going to go to this or that. What we were trying to do is have this platform where new projects who are just getting started, you can get access to the entire ecosystem. You can use the API and hey, reach out to us. We'll feature you on our platform. You know, it will be in an unpriced section because you're not live yet. And then, you know, VCs, and this is like really thinking like down the road and who knows if this business model will work out, but like, you know, VCs will be able to get access to new projects as well, right? And maybe we have like an alpha version where it's just like, hey, here's new projects that aren't listed yet that you can get access to if you pay a small monthly subscription fee or something like that, you know. Just, you know, I'm not trying to nickel and dime people. I'm just trying to create value and as much value to everybody for every single one of these components, like everywhere we go, right? So yeah, that's like another sort of value driver there. But yeah, that's like what I'm really interested in the far future is like this heavily cross-chain integration where you can come in and get exposure to every single ecosystem that we have access to through one, and then also, you know, the heavy analytics and treating it like a more of like a Google play, like a sort of like a marketing pixel or something like that, where we can really see consumer sentiment a little bit with higher fidelity. So
that's huge. I mean, it's hard to digest the scale of that because the potential is so vast when you speak like that. It's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting.
It is. It's definitely, you know, Synchrony is a monumental project. It is, you know, from the building side of things, you look at it and it's just like, this is a lot of work, you know. But I mean, we started this thing last February. Solana was at $6. So, you know, while people are complaining right now, and I opened up, I like looked at CoinGecko before this. I was like, oh my God, my heart, my poor heart. But we started building on Solana at $6, and we're going to continue to grind for years to come until we have like version 1s of everything like really, really smooth, really clean. That's best in class. That compares to traditional like e-commerce experiences, you know, like Amazon. I don't ever expect to go into Amazon and have some sort of issue with like payment or searching or anything like that. So we want it to be one of these sorts of experiences where people aren't even like super aware of what shade they're on and all of that. And it takes a lot of work to get there. So like I said, we're crawling before we walk, before we run. You know, we're leading in terms of how we address this to the community. We're very transparent in terms of everything that we're doing, where we're going, you know, what we're working on now. So.
Okay, Andy, thank you for those amazing answers. We're going to go into our next segment, which is the Twitter questions. We had an amazing response from the community, and we chose 4 of the best questions we could find. So we'll start off, and the first one is, partnership is like a supplement where the combined effect is beyond the individual level. Can you name some of your recent partnerships that can help Synchrony? Is there any partnership that will take place in the near future? Can you tell us with whom?
Absolutely. So I did talk a little bit about our dopamine partnership. We're really excited to be working with those guys. Yeah, we've been chatting with them for a while, and they've got a phenomenal user base, and I think there's a lot of synergy there. They do help us get into some doors that we would not be able to get into without them. They also have a huge user base, a ton of regular active monthly users as well. So we do see like a ton of added value there. We also are partnered with Wednesday's NFT. And we're really excited about it. I talked about that briefly as well. Just a utility NFT for Synchrony, and it's also frogs. So I'm a big fan of that. And then we have a major partnership, integration, I should say, coming up. I would love to talk about it. I can't, because I promise not to spill the beans until the marketing team says so. But I'm so excited about that. I've been invested in these guys on a retail level for a couple of years now. So I'm really excited to actually be able to work with them. Yeah, we partied with them a little bit in Lisbon for the Solana Breakpoint event as well. So it's just great to, like, we know their team, I know their technology. I've been a huge fan of them. Like, I know their fundamentals, all that stuff. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, well, we're gonna make the announcement soon. We just have to wait on the clearance from the marketing department.
Very exciting stuff. There's some clues there. I think the OIG community will be digging through them and trying to work out who it is. Okay, well, we'll move on to question 2. Some social and copy trading platforms rely on professional and expert human traders rather than machine-powered trading. Can you highlight the benefits that your trading functions offer competitively above other platforms that use human expert trading systems?
That's a good question. Our copy trading platform, like long term, I think, like, fundamentally what we're trying to do is we're just trying to make your money work harder for you, right? Based off of your risk portfolio and all of that. We have a pretty interesting combination of the way that we approach like social copy trading, mirror trading, that sort of thing. The way that we do it is first of all, it's non-custodial. We're not going to hold your money. They're not going to hold your money, right? Like, your keys, your coins. So that's like one of the first things that we emphasize. You follow human traders, right? But they're bound by indexes. And I talked about this briefly already. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds here. And eventually, obviously we'll incorporate like signal trading and that sort of thing. But, currently the major like roadblocks for us is they're centralized, non-custodial, and you have to trust the asset manager, right? So we're, decentralized, non-custodial, and it's trustless. And it's trustless because if you're like the #1 copy trader, if you're like an amazing trader and you have a bad day and you just feel like trolling a bunch of people, and you know what I mean? Because, people, there are trolls out there. Like my friend says, you build the bridge, I just live under it, right? And that's like kind of the thing that happens here. Is it's like, we want to, make it safe for people to follow strangers, right? And you do that by having it, non-custodial and decentralized, but then by having it bound to an index that automatically like rebalances and reconstitutes based off of market conditions, and will restrict what you will follow or not follow. That is definitely like a big added advantage to what we do, and nobody else is doing it like this. And we think that this is like a really, really interesting, novel, unique way to go about mitigating some of the pitfalls of like current, copy trading methods.
Great answer. You can see your features, the benefits it brings to the traditional.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. The crypto industry is a fast-paced industry. How flexible is your project to change quickly and keep pace with technology trends? What is your long-term vision for the forecasting industry in which your project operates?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, crypto it never sleeps. I don't know if you can see in my eyes, I haven't slept a lot either. We're a young, small, scrappy team, and I think I mentioned it earlier, you don't have to be smart, you just have to recognize it and copy it effectively. right? So we've pivoted quite a few times. Like originally we were just straight, like just a straight index platform. We wanted to do something like PyDAO. But we're quite agile in the way that we're able to move things around and switch. We're also looking to be cross-chain immediately. Like I said, we're entering the near hackathon, that's taking place this month. We'll probably deploy on Polkadot shortly after that. Polkadot's got some amazing technology under it, Substrate, the parachains. Big fan of Kasama as well. In terms of long-term vision for forecasting, that's all about the machine learning that we're applying to what we're doing with RPC providers, to what we're like I said, we have on-chain data. So it's like the written transaction data. We have on-chain call data. We have off-chain data like Google search trends, Twitter analytics, whatever have you. And then we'll have our platform specific data. And we're gonna put all this stuff together, and we're going to see all the interesting new metrics that come out of it, because there are insights that exist in a combination of this vertical, this stack of data that nobody knows right now, that nobody's aware of, that we don't know yet, that we can't even hypothesize. That once we get all this data lined up and looking at it, and we run it through like a couple like ML like algorithms or something like that, we're going to be able to tease out some very, very interesting metrics that are going to drive a lot of value, I think, for the entire ecosystem. And I mean, again, this is like the thing that's I'm most excited about in the long term. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
No, great answer again. Okay, final question. Most projects have issues with user interface or user experience, and this disables new users. How do you plan to interact with new users and users outside the crypto world?
That I'm so glad you asked this question. We actually have a professor of UX and UI who's at the University of Baltimore, or where was it? I don't know, someplace in the United States. He's been doing Web3 user experience and user interface design since 2017. He's a designer. He's a phenomenal designer. Really, like, he knows his stuff. He builds these gigantic Arduino-based projects for fun, and we've engaged his services to help us as we build out these features, for him to go in and do like a full like heuristic study, like make sure that he's going to do like recorded user studies of every single step along the way to make sure that this is optimized for us. Because something that I've seen, and the current iterations of Synchrony don't have this applied, but this is in the near future. We're engaging in services in the middle of next month, when we start having more of the platform put together on the front end. But everybody forks code from somewhere else, so everything looks like Uniswap, or everything looks like whatever else, right? And people just you can't see the forest through the trees. Like, everybody who's in crypto is just like, yeah, this is just the way it is. It's like, no, it doesn't need to be like that, right? So for example, again, you don't need to be smart, just recognize it and copy it effectively. If we're going to do search and we have like a ton of different products, who does search with a ton of different products? Well, Amazon does search with a ton of different products well, right? Because if we're like looking, oh, is it a DEX? Is it a lending protocol? What chain is it on? There's like all of these different like SKUs. I mean, you could qualify them as, if individual projects are an SKU and how they're categorized. We can use Amazon's hierarchy for that, right? So what I'm trying to do is bring the environment that everybody is comfortable with interacting online into crypto. Crypto is ripe for disruption. I remember I was on, this was like 2 years ago or something, or I don't know what time, right? I was like looking into to this project called Octify, and I was like, and Octify is not good right now, but it pumped really. If you look at the chart, like I got out really close to the top. It was great. I didn't do it on purpose, but it worked out. But the problem is I was trying to tell my buddy to get in because their APY was like 3,000% or something. I was like, this is great. This is fantastic. Problem was, it was on ETH, and so gas fees were value destroying, which is one of the reasons why we built on Solana. But I was like, don't worry, Tyler. My friend's name is Tyler. He's one of my best friends. I was like, don't worry, Tyler. All you got to do is, well, first of all, you got to get crypto. You got to get the wallet. And then after that, you got to go to this one place and you got to buy these 2 separate tokens, right? This one and this one. And then you got to take that and go to another place and deposit them. And then you get another token. Then you can take that one and you can go somewhere else. And it's just like, bro, that's too many steps, you know? What we're trying to do is just make it as close to a one-click solution as possible. It's our job as builders to reduce the amount of time between intention and outcome to 0, right? Like, what it should be is like, I think of something and it manifests. I mean, if we're looking at the hockey stick, you know, Moore's law, the singularity type of thing, that's the direction that we're going, is like close to as now as possible when I want something, right? I don't know how good that is for the instant gratification generation and some of the pitfalls there, but that's sort of beside the point. It's like, we're trying to have this be like, I click a button and it deploys my capital, or I go and I get the information that I'm looking for me, tailored for me, like right now. So we're trying to get as close to that as possible with like fiat on-ramps. We're working with a couple of fiat on-ramps so people don't need to deal with the friction of like going to a central exchange and blah, 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 blah. Like, you can just fiat on-ramp into a token, you hit buy, and it purchases your index, or it, you know, sets up your wallet and your wallet starts copy trading, whatever it is. That is the midterm goal, is to be best in class for UX UI. I mean, not even reinvent the wheel, just take all the things from all the people that have spent all that money on UX UI elsewhere, and then just apply it in our context. If you look at the video, one of the previous demo videos where we're just going through like just a sketch, like the wireframe basically for our dashboard, and you look at the search functionality, it is literally Amazon's search functionality. I'm not kidding, because they spend millions of dollars. You know, Jeff Bezos, Lex Luthor looking guy, like is out there, and he you know, they're you know, one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in the world for a reason. So, you know, we're trying to take all of the best user experiences out there and apply it to us in a context that makes sense. Obviously, like, people aren't going to be shopping for a new toothbrush on Synchrony, but they'll look for a new deck. So how do we, you know, recontextualize this stuff? But yeah, the UX UI is one of the most important things that we're focused on, outside of like, you know, security and making the functions work. It's like, you got to be able to use it. You know what I mean? It could be the best tool in the world. If you can't use it, then it's not a tool, you know?
Well, it makes sense, especially when you give an answer like that and you explain how you go about farming. It does sound complicated, but I really like the idea that you're going to go out there, get things that people are familiar with, that works, emulate it, improve it, evolve it. You've got good people behind your team working with that. Yeah, OIG were already bought into you. We already support you, but the more you speak, the even better this sounds. So excellent answer. So that brings us to the end. Really, really enjoyed speaking with you, Andy. Is there any final words you'd like to leave with the OIG community?
Well, just first of all, thank you guys so much for your continued support. You guys, like I said, you were early investors in us. You know, we really love what you're doing. We'd love you guys, like, as we continue to build this thing out, we'd love you guys to give us input. If you guys have ideas on how we can improve, or if you, like I said, you don't have to be smart, just recognize it and copy it effectively. I think I've gotten pretty good at that, you know? So if you guys have a smart idea, we're always down to hear that. Please check us out on our socials, on our Telegram, and look forward for some of the huge news that's coming up and some of the features that we're going to start releasing.
Great stuff. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
OIG family, don't forget, follow all of our socials to stay up to date with all the exciting news.